to a Cat 2 here as it nears our coastline later afternoon into the evening. Landfall probably 5 to 7 p.m. somewhere near St. Mary Parish or maybe even into Terrebonne Parish. We're watching this thing very closely for its wobbles on exactly where it's going to come in. And one thing I notice off the top here, and it could be just a wobble, is that over the past hour it's been riding on the far eastern side of this line. So this is the official track, taking it right up into St. Mary Parish, Terrebonne Parish here. Some models think this wobbles in closer to Terrebonne Parish. That is certainly a trend we're going to be watching. Also, I want you to notice the structure of this hurricane. Look where all the rain is on the north side. So the rain is going to be with us starting this morning. It'll increase throughout the day. And for some areas, you're going to get rain all day long, and it will be quite heavy at times. So a flash flooding issue could materialize as we go throughout the day. And then the back side of this system is likely going to be drier, as now that dry air is eventually going to get wrapped up into this, and that's what's going to help weaken it once it moves inland later on. Hurricane hunters are out here. Just got a new dropsonde data point in the center. They clocked it at 976. The pressure at 4 a.m. was 977. It is not rapidly intensifying, I can guarantee you that much, but it still may strengthen ever so slightly over the next 10 hours. So strengthening will be gradual if it's going to do it through the rest of its journey over the Gulf waters. Our warnings and watches, no changes here. We have hurricane watches for the metro, but hurricane warnings are up for Terrebonne, Lafourche, St. James, Ascension, Assumption, St. Mary, St. Martin, and even into Baton Rouge. So this is the corridor where we're most likely to see those hurricane force wind gusts, and then as you move inland you certainly have a tropical storm wind gust. I think most people on average see between 50 and 80 mile-per-hour wind gusts later afternoon into this evening, and yes, a lot of us could really see those strongest winds around the evening hours once the sun starts to go down. So you still have a couple hours for the worst winds start to approach our area. Now it's going to be wet and rainy this morning and breezy at times, but those tropical storm force winds in yellow here, that's 40 miles per hour or greater. That'll arrive on the coast around noon. That's when some curfews go into effect as well. And then as we get into the later afternoon, here we are at 4 and 5, the tropical storm conditions starting to arrive into Metro New Orleans and the river parishes. This is also when we're expecting landfall to be about 5 to 7 p.m. somewhere near Terrebonne or St. Mary Parish. Could be a Category 2 storm. That Category 2 wind field's not going to be very big, but where it comes on shore, winds are going to be rocking and rolling, potentially over 100 miles an hour with those gusts. And then here we are. The worst winds for New Orleans in the metro area will likely be into tonight, and then things begin to clear out in the early morning hours on Thursday. So that's the wind threat. Power outages are certainly a possibility. Storm surge warnings up for every location in our viewing area. We are looking at totals 5 to 10 feet on the east side of that eye, 4 to 7 feet Barataria Bay still, but we've bumped up the lake numbers in South Mississippi. 4 to 6 feet of inundation there in Hancock County, 4 to 6 feet on the north shore of the lake, a little bit less here on the south shore thanks to the direction of the winds, and then 3 to 5 feet for Lake Maurepas. When you look at the storm surge in the specifics, and this is an exact model that we use, it's called the slosh model. It shows down here in Terrebonne and St. Mary is where we likely see the highest surge with that track. Now, if this thing wobbles a little bit, comes in further east, then you could see some higher totals around Cocodrie. But right now, Cocodrie, Chauvin, those areas could certainly see inundation over 7 to maybe up to 9 feet or so. And we had that live shot down there this morning with Amelia, and where they are standing, they will likely see water over their heads as we go throughout this afternoon and evening. That would be the highest water coming into Terrebonne Bay this afternoon into this evening. Same thing Barataria Bay, not as high, but 4 to 7 feet is possible there, and then that 3 to 6 feet as you get over towards eastern St. Bernard. I wanted to go up to the North Shore really quickly because if you live on the North Shore, if you live along the lakefront there in Mandeville or Madisonville, the water's going to come up and it's going to get on the roads. You're going to have to move your cars. There's no doubt about it. That will mainly be this afternoon and tonight. The water will stay high tomorrow, though, because the south winds are not going anywhere anytime soon. That's the flooding from the lake. Rivers are going to start to back up here, and if we get some heavy rain, the rivers coupled with the lake flooding, it all is just a compounding effect, and the rivers are going to be very, very slow to go down. So they're going to be swollen probably through the remainder of this week. And when I'm talking rain here, there's a chance that some people see about a foot of rainfall from this. Where does that happen? Well, it's going to happen near the center and on the northern side of that center. So right now, with the current thinking of the storm coming in around Terrebonne and St. Mary, that puts this narrow corridor across the river parishes, parts of the North Shore, and the bayou parishes of 8 to 12 inches. Now you can see how quickly those totals drop off as you head into the New Orleans metro. So this is going to be a very, very intense gradient of a lot of rain and, well, not a whole lot of rain. So we got to watch this closely, because if this comes in further closer to the metro, we may see this axis of heavy rain move closer to the metro. And obviously we don't want anyone flooding, but 12 inches of rain in New Orleans, that ain't going to work. So that's something we'll be watching this afternoon, and especially into this evening and tonight. So the flooding potential could be even after dark, and that is a recipe for disaster. Now, there's a tornado threat here. It's a landfalling hurricane on the east side. You're going to have a tornado threat. Specifically, thanks to some dry air getting wrapped up in it, that could really increase the tornado threat over in South Mississippi and off towards the Florida Panhandle. We will be here tracking that for you, and we'll let you know if a tornado warning is ever issued with any of this. So it's going to be with us mainly this afternoon is when conditions go downhill. You still have this morning to rush and get those things done. This afternoon you need to be getting situated, and then this evening is probably the worst of it for many of us. It'll last into tonight, and then through Thursday it's lifting away from the area. It'll actually be up around Memphis by Thursday night and moving quickly to the north, bringing us decent weather as we head into the weekend. So